Xavier Smith, and I am the owner of Xcellent Solutions. And our goal is to provide more solutions than problems and more answers than questions.
All right, perfect. Well, Clifford, I will let you take it away, and Xavier is your guest. And Xavier, just so you know, and everybody in the audience, just a reminder, Xavier and I do not know each other. Clifford and Xavier know each other. There are no questions in prepared, so you're about to jump into an organic conversation of strangers connecting.
Yeah. And it's a perfect organic conversation because I have known Nate for a while now. I have known Xavier he was actually in the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey. And we have both continued to grow and continue to progress. And I'm really grateful to have him as a mentor and a friend. You know, I'm looking at this world, and this world is a game of you get to pour into people and they get to pour into you. And Xavier has been a great friend and a mentor as I've gone through this process. He's extremely heart-centered. Nate, I think you're going to love this about him. I believe Xavier had a heart attack at 25, was it?
29. Close.
29.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, if I've learned anything, it's the painful lessons that we get to take and the painful lessons that we get to support others through their journey. And they're going to go through their painful lessons. Like I can't bull crap it and say, I just don't want you to go through anything. All of you leaders who are looking to do great things in this life are going to go through things. That's just the name of the game. But you get the insights from other great leaders to make the game that much easier. And that's the game, is how do we make this as easy as possible to get to the results that you want to get to in your life and in your business. Xavier's a great friend to do that with, and Nate is a great friend to do that with too. As you can tell, I'm a passionate dude. I'm transparent. But yeah, let's have some fun on this conversation and let's share some wisdom so that we can move people forward on their journey too.
Yes, sir.
Xavier, let's kick it off with tell me about your business and what it is that you do. As it's a service-based or product-based, and kind of what it is, your business model, and how you help people.
Okay. So to answer that question, I answer that with yes, because I could do all those things and so much more. But in a nutshell, just give you a 5,000-foot view. I started with the desire after getting out of the military, knowing that I didn't really want to work for anyone else because I had, done government work for 10 plus years in the Air Force. And my goal was to find out what came easier to me, that I can help other people with on their journey. And so the original idea was to get my real estate license because I got out here by an invite from my younger brother. He actually has his real estate license. The goal way back then in real estate in Arizona, there was once upon a time, this area was white hot and people were migrating from California, buying 2 and 3 homes with on stated income. And so I came into the industry around that time and I sold one house. And that's when I realized I did not like the paperwork. So that's where I met my wife, who was already in real estate. So long story short, I just started realizing, hey, this is probably not where I'm going to end up staying. She allowed me to kind of pursue. It was a hobby of just working out and helping people do that. So long story short, I started teaching people fitness. That was back in 2007. And I found a model that worked for me because, I wanted to do it close to home. And people ended up liking it so much to the point where I've got like over 100 and probably by now over 140 5-star reviews on Google and many other platforms. And so, I've been doing that. I started with personal training. Then I migrated into nutrition because I always wanted to find out the answer to my question, how did I have this heart attack at 29 in the first place? So I got educated through the Institution of Integrative Nutrition, studied 1.5 years of over 100 different diets and lifestyles, came out with a certification. And from there, I also got certified through Tony Robbins as a life coach. So my philosophy was, if anybody that comes to me starts giving me excuses, I want to take and pull each one of those excuses away until what we have left is you either want to do this or you don't. And I'm gonna help you. I'll be here to serve you, but I won't chase you. And that's kind of how my philosophy has evolved over the years. I'll serve you all day long and twice on Sunday, but I will not spend one moment chasing you, because I feel like this: if you have to drag them in, you're going to have to drag them around. And I'm not into that.
Amen to that. I actually want to pop a question, because it really just got me thinking and that's hilarious. I've known you for so many years, but I've never actually asked this question. Having a heart attack at 29 and then going through so many learning experiences, what's one of the most valuable things you've learned as you went through that entire process to go, oh my goodness, right there?
Well, I think my immediate response is probably two things that I take out of this whole equation. Is one is the power of forgiveness, because for me and in my story, one thing that was holding me back was my bitterness. I was very bitter. I was mad. I was frustrated. I was angry at the world. And it was all because of a script that I kept repeating in my head. And this was regarding my parents, because they were young when they had me. And the perception was, you guys just dumped me off on my grandparents. And for a long time, the story that I was telling myself was, that's not right. You should have done more for me. And I realized, now that I'm older, and I went through that 17-year jail sentence where I was incarcerated. And it's so funny because I never spent a day in jail, but I can tell people with 100% confidence that I was incarcerated. It was in my mind that I was incarcerated because I kept that story with me. And for 17 years, I lost out on connections, life, just evolutions in life, because I was telling myself that story and I believed it. So for me, once I got through that time frame where I was like, you know what, my mom did the best that she could, considering the circumstances she was surrounded by. My dad also did the best he could, considering what he was going through, because both of them were addicted to the drugs. So once I got through that part and I was willing to stop pointing fingers at everybody and every situation and instead point at me and realize that I was the problem, that's what helped me discover my new statement was, if I really wanted to live, I've got to learn how to forgive. And so I got on the phone. I called my parental units. I told them what I had to tell them. They responded, but immediately, man, as soon as I hung up that phone, I felt about 100 pounds lighter. And now that's not to say that it was yellow brick road all the way down the line. It was the real meaning was I was ready to do the work. And so I had to clean my own room. And it started with forgiving my parents. And so I guess that's kind of what leads to the person you see before you on this screen today, is just learning how to forgive them and take the blame off of them, put it back on myself, put my lace up the bootstraps and go to work and, do the work that was necessary. And so that's how it started. The other thing that I would take away is that you have to be willing to look at yourself first. Like, here's the thing about what I wish I can convey to people is that the world is not doing anything good or bad to you. What the world is doing is reflecting who you are. Okay. So if you got some stuff that you got on the inside that is unresolved, it's going to reflect in your life. And so I really had to come to terms with that truth. For me, it's gonna be different. Like, I tell everybody when I'm on stage, I tell everybody to put their finger up and just look at it. because that is a unique identity that no one else on earth can reproduce. So like we have to find out who that person is, because your fingerprint cannot be reproduced by anybody else. Therefore, it's you. And I was talking to myself at that point. And so once I realized that, I was like, and ready to do the work, it's like game over. I'll just, keep moving forward. And here we are.
That's powerful.
It's interesting. Your timing, your heart attack is around the same time that I was in rehab learning the same lesson. And there was a there was a counselor in rehab that gave me this. I guess you call it an allegory, metaphor, whatever it is, where it's drinking the poison is drinking the poison and hoping that it kills your enemy. And it took about 11 weeks to figure that out, but what they were trying to say. And because in my mind, I think, like I said, give it this caveat as far as the struggle in the process of the work. I did the work and I've been sober coming up on 3 years in December. But in that process, the hardest part was similar to yours, but mine was also this like justice type thing that I had twisted in my head. It's like they did these things and then I did my things, therefore they need to be punished as well. And that became the longest stretch until I was able to let that piece go and be like, it's irrelevant whether they ever get punished or justified. I have to take care of myself because I'm drowning.
Yeah.
And I think that was that one caveat of that. That was my speed bump kind of hurdle situation that I had to get around in the beginning. But once I got past that part, then the weight was off. The bricks were out of the backpack and I was running.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. See, that part right there is where I feel like a lot of people kind of still miss the boat sometimes, but it's their own process. The light comes on when it's supposed to. So there's a couple of things that, looking back now, I've been able to evolve and arrive at, and that I would put in a category of divine timing. And, we as humans, we get into this space where we think we can control stuff and we can't. And so that's kind of like, that's my playground. It's like realizing that, hey, I only have so much control, and the ownership that I possess is just me in this cavity that I'm in right now. I'm just trying to make that person as good as he can be for the time being, and help people when they choose me to help.
What was your life? Go back older or younger, not older. Go back younger than your heart attack. What was your life in your late teens and 20s leading up to that kind of catalyst moment?
Okay, so good question. I was one of those types that I wasn't a bully, and I just didn't really have a need for a bunch of people around me. I noticed this probably as early as freshman, sophomore year in high school, when I started having those, like listening to the conversations that you have in your head. By the way, it just makes me think that we have 60 to 70,000 thoughts per day that run through our head. It doesn't necessarily mean that we have to believe all of them. Okay. So for me, I started realizing that I wasn't the type of guy that needed a bunch of yes people around me. But I also wasn't a bully. I didn't go around bothering people. I was kind of like a bumblebee. You leave a bumblebee alone, it does its thing, and you won't get stung. That was me. So for me, in my teenage years, they were okay. I mean, I went to a nice high school, but I still carried around this bitterness towards my parents at that time. But I didn't really let it show. It was more of an internal thing. I wore this robe, this 24/7, you stay away from me, I'll stay away from you defense mechanism. Like I wore this look 24/7. And some people were attracted to it. Some people didn't know what to do with it. But for me, it kept people at enough distance where I could navigate life on my terms. And so I would get comments like, I was scared to talk to you type of thing. Or, I would get people that would just not, bother me. And that's kind of what I wanted. So for me, it was like, I started developing that demeanor because I felt like this: if my own parents could abandon me, what's to stop a stranger from doing the same thing? So that to me was my signal to be like, let me take action first and keep people at a distance. Now, if there's anybody who's willing to try to break through my armor, they might be worth my time. And so it started working for me. And as a result, I had a lot of great relationships with the females and so-so relationship with males. But, you live and learn, and I just adapted. And then, about 20s, maybe mid 20s and 30s, I started realizing, hey, this is not going to be a sustainable look for me. And so I started making some evaluations in my head, and that's kind of where, that time frame, mid 30s, is where I made that call and just kind of changed the script. And you have someone who I still, have men sometimes, men like Clifford, they get me, I get them. And then there's other people who are so insecure with themselves that they see me as a threat. And so now I'm just able to go through life and be like, okay, we know who you are. I know, and we can just move on from that point on. So that's me in a nutshell.
When you finally sat down to make this a business that you were going to found and own, was that ever in all V's trajectory of your life? Was that ever an ambition, or was it just really kind of like stepping back and looking at what you're talking about? Let's say, like, was it the universe or whatever type of entities you want to speak of?
Yeah.
Putting that situation there, or was it always in the back of your mind, like, one day I want to control this and I want to do my own thing?
I think it's a kind of a bit of an evolution. To be honest with you, when I first started, I was just considering it a hobby. Like I told you in the beginning, I was like, what can I do that comes easy to me that I might be able to help others do? That's the thought process that started it all. And then I started getting into personal development. That's when Tony Robbins came into the picture. And I was like, wait a minute. So there is another world besides the one that I know, because he was obviously proving it. And the way he came through, I actually got to sit and stand on the same stage with him. And dude, that dude's hands are huge. He's huge. So that's when I kind of got the notion that I could probably do something like this too. So the heart attack came along. That was 29. And then actually, let me go back a little bit, because you asked me about my teens, and it was a sophomore in high school is when I got hit by a drunk driver. And I was on my moped, and I was turning into my grandparents' driveway. And this VW Bug, a yellow VW Bug, was going about 50 miles an hour on a residential street. It clipped me. And so they say that my body ended up like 3 houses down. I had no helmet, no safety precautions. I was actually showing off for a girl that just moved in across the street. And so I had a moped thinking I was cool, got hit. And I was in the hospital for 2, maybe 3 weeks. I had a blood clot the size of another head when I came to. Broke my collarbone. I got a nice little souvenir on this shoulder here. So that was another moment that caused me to evaluate, like, what's going on here? Because I survived it. And then the heart attack came along. And then the third incident were blood clots. Like, I had the blood clot. This one went away, but apparently it wasn't done with me. So I think it was 2016. I was teaching a fitness move to a client right in my studio behind this curtain, and it brought me to my knees. My blood pressure was all over the place. Long story short, I ended up having a blood clot that went from my calf muscle, lodged itself on both my lungs, and they called it a saddle pulmonary embolism, worst kind ever. So I ended up in an ICU with a bunch of people that were like 70 plus, and, suffering from that condition. And so those 3 moments in my life were the ones that caused me to like, why am I here? And because I'm still here, there's got to be a good reason for it. And because I'm still able to use everything that I have, that's the deal that I made with my creator, is like, I'm here to, the download that I got was, I'm here to impact, inspire, and improve the lives of others should they choose me. Because the other signal I got is like, you can't go around forcing this stuff down people's throats. So I like to work in what I call a divine presence. I don't like to use many words. You won't see much advertising from me, but you will see me show up when they want me to. And I will give everything that I have, as Clifford has already, made comment on, is that's what I like to lead with. And, but like I said, I just don't, I've tried the chasing part, and the results were never as good as they could be when you are in alignment. Huge difference. And that's where I'd like to stay.
I love that so much. And I do want to share too, one thing that served me, and I feel it served the audience, entrepreneurs and leaders going through their journey. I had a very vanilla message when I first started, because I wanted to bring everybody. I wanted the message to hit everybody. and I realized, crap, they're liking it and they're hearting it and they're all over it, but they're not doing anything. It's not changing their life. They're not coming any closer. And once I started speaking on like real raw truths, that's when people started to walk towards me. And I started seeing like, oh my goodness, like, just to say you had a heart attack at 29, you had that, and then you had the transformation after. That's powerful.
Yeah,
that's the power. That's the juice. And I started seeing like, oh my goodness, leaders are built. They really are built. And you have to share, like, there's things I didn't even want to share with people because I wanted to share the good lesson. I wanted to share, oh, it's amazing. You get all this good stuff. Right. But it's like, well, you got to share the crap. So they go, oh, this person gets it.
Yeah. Yeah. Think about it. We can't go through life only inhaling, right?
Yeah.
Imagine trying to do that. Or quite the opposite. If you want to exhale without trying to breathe in, impossible. And so I always tell people, whoever will listen, there's levels and layers to all of life. And you're going to get to a station in your life where you realize, maybe in your 20s, you were thinking the world is this big, beautiful, euphoric place and everybody will, kind of join in, kumbaya type of thing. But that's not the case, And so for me, I had to learn that lesson and be like, because I was the same way, Cliff. It's like, I'm having this transformation. Everybody needs to have this transformation. And it's true, but it's going to be on their terms, not yours. And that's what I really started discovering. Like, okay, I'm just going to work on me and then, work on the alignment, and then the right people just start popping in. And then it becomes a matter of ease and flow. And then, like, you have to deliberately choose that. It just doesn't happen. You got to choose it and then go to work to create it. And for me, that's where a lot of my truth lies, is just being ready when I'm called on, just like when I was in the Air Force. One of the mottos there is adapt and overcome. And so when people choose me, depending on how they answer my questions, I will kind of get a good sense of what kind of work that they need. And if they allow me to be the guide from the side, because this type of work, the trainer is not the one who's doing the work. That's not where the magic is. I'm just kind of showing you where you need to go, but they have to do the real work. And so, yeah, that's the fun part.
I think that's the just like in the beginning when we were talking about letting go of people and letting them kind of, not worrying about their justice and punishments and stuff like that. It's the same for what you're talking about. And that's also really challenging. I bring up an example in the past couple months. I had two different friends of mine that connect me to their friends who are dealing with alcoholism, and they want me to help them, and they want to have an intervention, and they want to do this and they want to do that. And my response to them was, if they're not reaching out about it, or they're not willing to like really get through it, so without getting into the minutiae of it, I ended up literally giving them my phone number and talking to them and saying, here's my phone number. I will always answer it. I will always get back to you, and I'll always be here, but I will not call you again to ask you how you're doing. And every single one of them gets offended, and everybody else that's a part of this is like, how are you so cruel in this? I'm like, no, it's not. Because I said, I tried to tell them, I was like, I tried to quit drinking 4 different times in various stints, and it never worked because I wasn't ready for it until this time. Like this time I was ready because everything clicked, the alignment was there, and sobriety is actually easy and comfortable for me. It's not a resistance. Because it's fitting. But that's where that conversation with people is like, well, they're like, well, I want to get to where you are. And I'm like, you can when you want to. And the hardest part is, it sounds like we're teasing a carrot, and it sounds like we're like saying you can't understand it, so therefore we're not going to be in some exclusive club. When really it is what you just said. It's the mindset of being ready to do the work, because you don't just flip the switch and put your away message up and say, all right, I'm done drinking for the next 30 years. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a constant every minute, every day, every hour. It's putting a tool chest around you and things like that. And what I tried to explain to them is, I'm more than willing to give you every tool under the sun. But if you don't know how to open that tool chest because you don't know the combination, then it's irrelevant for you to have the nicest tool chest in the world full of tools.
Right.
And when you start to break it down, I have yet to have anybody, I'm going to say this, and this is not, I don't say this with pride, I say this with disappointment, is I have yet to ever have somebody follow through and put the work in yet that I've challenged in that situation in my community of sobriety. And that is very disheartening, because we believe as a society, I was one of these people, so I'm not casting judgment when I say this, but until I saw the other side, everything needed to be easy in order for it to be accomplished in a certain way when it came to sobriety. Like it just needed to be easier. And until I was able to accept the fact that it's not easy, then I was able to understand and then do the work.
Okay. Yeah, I picked up on that. One thing that I take away from what you just said, Nate, is the fact that you had to make a conscious choice and realize that it's not easy. Like you had to come to terms with that, right?
Right. And my download, Clifford told me to tell his story. My download very openly happened during a mushroom journey. And it was a very intentional mushroom journey of self-discovery. And that's where my download occurred. And it changed my entire life and my perspective on everything every day.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I like,
I'm not advocating drugs or anything like that, if anybody's taking that out of context, but I'm just telling my story.
right.
I also, my entrepreneurial journey was really hard, actually. And what made it hard, so there's pain and then there's suffering. They're two different things. You can feel pain. You don't have to suffer. And I ended up working with a marketer, and I didn't realize he was doing this at the time. And I don't even know if this was his intention, but he was such a good marketer. He painted the dream, but he didn't paint the parts of the stumbling blocks. Like he showed the door and I couldn't get in the door. Like, and I thought there was something wrong with me. And as I'm trying to let's get through the section door. What's going on? I suck. And as I navigated it more and more, I realized oh crap, I know this game. It's the fighting game all over again. You got to put in the reps. You put in the reps and you get the result. Good inputs lead to good outputs. You get good inputs by figuring out how to navigate and change and try and let me move this an inch over here. Let me do this. Let me tweak it. Let me test it. And once I figured that out, and I'm like, oh crap, entrepreneurship's the same game. It's not this simple game where it's like, oh yeah, you look at the cash, you walk towards the cash, and then you put it in your bank.
Right.
It's so funny you brought that up, Clifford, because I was just in a conversation yesterday with somebody about this, how I changed the way that I present like what I do for a living. And I actually am overly transparent because of that same reason. I used to do that. I was the consultant that you don't give them everything and you don't show them everything because then they'll steal it and they'll do it on their own and you're protective of it. And now I've accepted, kind of like we're talking about, Xavier, is like accept the fact that most people aren't going to do the work. I'm completely transparent about the entire process, the systems, and how I do my job to every detail of action item and engagement. And I have no care in the world that anybody's going to do it because it's a lot of work and it's hard work. And that's so far has proven to be better because my clients then have the transparency of the value of the work that I'm doing, as opposed to the whitewash thing where I'm trying to be humble and not let them show how much work goes into it. Now I'm going the opposite way where it's not like, oh, what was me? It's just like, yeah, here's everything that's going on. And they could easily say, all right, we're all good and we have an action plan and strategy moving forward, but they don't because they don't want to do that work either. That's why they're hiring you, you know?
Yeah. Yes.
When you go back, let me go back to the beginning too, is Xavier, like you're saying about choosing the right people, that also has a big thing to do with it. So choosing the right clients as opposed to just grabbing any client that wants to work with me allows me to be that vulnerable and transparent with these clients because they're in it for the right reasons. They're not in it to get the strategy and get out before the trial ends or anything like that. Like they're really in it to get through the whole process. And that's, I think, I give a lot of credit to Clifford on this about a year, maybe a year and a half ago now, when we first met, because, you know, that was where you had said about having that tough exterior and it was a test. And where it was like, if anybody wants to penetrate this shield, they must be good people. Well, that was the way I broad stroked everything. But I didn't realize there's a lot of people that see that shield and see opportunity and vulnerability and they attack it and they exploit it. I've been burned a lot in my life, and it's not a vulnerability or a victimhood story, but it's one of those where since I was able to shift that lens and really start putting the right people in front, regardless of the financial abilities that they have, making sure it was aligned with what I needed to do, everything has become so much more efficient since then in the past 6-12 months.
Yeah. It goes right to my levels and layers, man. It's like when people take ownership of their broadcast, like here's how I see it. Every single person, every human being is a broadcaster. Like there's the big world that we all share. And then each human has their own little world that maybe doesn't necessarily mean that everybody knows about it because everybody's going through their own little stuff. And we have to kind of navigate, like Clifford said, it's like navigating through that while we're sharing this big world. We have to make choices. I was going to take a moment to hit this little celebration for you, Nate, when you said that it's a moment by moment decision that you have to make. Like that is absolutely true. Like some people under this notion that you're trying to get to a certain destination, and once you get there, you can like exhale. No, it's no real there because you're always continuously evolving. Like, and if you think you know everything, you should probably run from that guy or gal. It's like, yeah, I don't know everything, but I'm willing to, like, when I'm not doing this, my head's in a book. You know, I'm trying to learn something. So, yeah, I applaud both of you on that.
Yeah. What's so cool as we're having this conversation, I just learned new things about you, Xavier, because Nate prompted it by asking questions that I never even thought to ask. And when I met you, I just you were infectious. I loved you. I loved what you were about. I loved your mindset. But sometimes asking the questions like, well, how did that mindset come about?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that's like a perfect hiring question too. Like, how did you become the person you became?
Yeah. I mean, if you're asking that question, you know, for me, I had to make another decision on whether I wanted to remain a victim or shall I use all of this stuff, the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, to make me better? Two choices, bitter or better. Which one? Choose now. You know?
Yep. I love that. Didn't mean to cut you off. I just had a thought, if I may.
Yeah.
When I go, oh my goodness, this game's a game of leadership, like every single time. Mm-hmm. And I noticed something when my wife's in a tough spot she becomes a victim. And when I'm in a tough spot, I become an egotistical high performer. And they're both not necessarily good, especially when they're next to each other.
Yes.
And so I'm like, this is where our blowups come from. And I saw it, and I go, this is the blowup. So instead of ego, it's not ego, it's we go. What does my team need right now?
Right.
And it helps me slow things down so that I can, because even when she's in victim mode, quote unquote victim mode, she can get out of it if I'm listening to her. If I listen closely to her and I just pay attention, she'll actually jar herself out of it. It's a very interesting thing.
Yeah.
But if I try and get her out of it, and this is Xavier, just off of what you're talking about, like, look, I'm not going to pull them around, because if I'm pulling them into a space, I have a feeling there's a pattern here. I'm going to be pulling them all over the place. And I go, oh my goodness, this game's so simple, not necessarily easy, because we're all playing in our own head, and we don't even know that we're playing in our head and they're playing in theirs.
Yep.
And when we figure out, like, okay, what does this person need? Instead of what me, it's, wait, what does this person need? Because when I can figure out what they need, even if it is like what Nate was saying, like, look, you have my number. You can call me.
Right.
Sometimes what they need to know is that they have the power to say, I don't want this anymore. I choose something different.
Yep. Yeah, I love that, Nate, because you are giving them the opportunity to make that choice, and on another note, there is a huge difference, vibrational difference between making a choice and making a decision. Usually choices in my world, choices are more on the casual side. Like, do you want pickles on that sandwich or not? That's casual. A decision comes with, I'm burning the boat. And once I make this decision, this is the path that I'm choosing without fail. So I like to use both my ears when I'm listening to people and how they talk, the words that they select. And then I try to help them hone in on that, because there is so much power in the word. It's even written in the Bible, but people don't give it as enough credit. So like, and Bruce Lee would say it too. He's like, don't even joke about your body because it's listening, you know? And so, I just wanted to make note of that.
It's the simplest pieces that I try to tell them, and it is a challenge in one sense, because I say to them, I was like, if you can't make this phone call, you can't be sober. And it gets interpreted as like how egotistical, like I can save them or anything like that. And it's not that. And that's where people miss the point. It's not that. It's the decision to be vulnerable and reach out for help. That's what it is. It doesn't matter if the call is to me, or if it's to Brother Jim, or if it's to their pastor down the road. The point is that they've accepted that it is beyond them and that it has controlled them. So it's time for them to regain control. One of the things Clifford and I talked about a couple months ago is I still work in the alcohol industry. Actually, right now, I'm driving around in a pickup truck with wine and canned cocktails and everything like that. And I go to 20 to 30 liquor stores a day selling product. And people think it's absolutely asinine. And my answer is, they're like, well, why do you sit around your addiction all day long? I'm like, because I have control of it. Because it doesn't control me. Like, I can walk into a liquor store and my hair doesn't stick up on the back of my neck, I don't get itching, I don't get scratching, I don't get anything. And it's not because I wasn't addicted to it. It's because I have control of what's going on and have control of where the priorities are of what I'm going to participate in my life. That was not the case prior. I had completely relinquished control. And also at the same time, that control is not a absence of accountability for my actions when I was drunk either. I'm not those types of sober guys. It's like, oh, that was when I was drunk. It's like, no, that was my action, because I believe that what's done and said when you're drinking is just things you were going to do or say sober that you didn't have the balls to do.
I love that.
it's a very different take than a lot of people have on sobriety, but for me, it's the edge I needed to kind of keep motivated every day. And like you said, realizing that the decision I make at 9 a.m. hopefully is the same decision I make at 5 p.m. and at 9 p.m. and at 2 a.m. and at 3 a.m. But there's days where, yeah, it might not happen. But I made it. If I ended the day without fucking it up, then I controlled everything I needed to do. You know?
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I love that because, you know, you have to make that decision to be slave to it or master it. And that's this is the epitome of someone who has mastered whatever that used to be that used to master him, you know?
Yeah.
So I think I applaud that because that's the perfect example of how I can exercise control over this demon and tame it. Like it's my zoo animal now.
That's a good way to put it. I like it. I got a leash on it now, so we're good.
Yeah.
Xavier, thank you so much for taking the time today and talking with us. I look, hopefully, we'll get you back on again and do some follow-ups here, and we'll kind of drill down specific topics. But Clifford, thank you for bringing Xavier in, and I want to remind everybody that again, there was no prep, there's no questions, there's no scripts.
Love that.
There's no sponsors, so if anybody's interested and wants to sponsor anything, we're welcome. Muscle Milk, or whoever you got. So no, but anyway. So yeah, that really, again, Xavier, really appreciate you coming on and taking the chance, because I know one thing I want everybody to understand is, people get nervous of speaking in public. People get nervous about their first interview. There's a lot of people that don't want to come on our formatted show because there's no questions in advance, and you don't know what we're going to ask you, and you don't know what rabbit hole of your life we're going to go down. And that takes a decision, and that takes control, and that takes discipline, and it takes confidence. And I don't reiterate this enough to our guests that we really, I will speak on behalf of Clifford on this one. We together really appreciate this more than you know, that you're willing to take that chance and trust us to have this conversation on camera authentically.
Oh man, anything that Clifford has got his hands on, I'm always willing to look at it with both eyes open and in full support. He hasn't done anything to prove otherwise. So you're on board the train.
Hey, I appreciate you fully, and ultimately, as I go through this journey, I like being a bridge, bringing good people together, and I only want to bring good people together, and I get better at playing it the more I do it.
Love it.
But I would ask also, Xavier, how can people get a hold of you if they got some insight?
I was gonna be, there's an opportunity to get fancy here, but I'm actually going in reverse. If people want to get in contact with me, just reach out to me on social media. I'm all over the place. But I want them to go through you so they can get to me, and you already know how to get to me. So you already have my business number. So yeah, I mean, I would love to connect and, make this web of interaction beneficial for all of us. So yeah, just reach out, and I can make it easy. Just ask.
Yeah. No, I love it. And that actually prompts me into when I was younger, I saw these orbs on a wall. And every time I would move the orb, they would make certain shapes. And eventually I ended up solving the whole thing. It was interesting. And it showed a honeycomb and it said together. And I think ultimately, it's our job to realize we're in this together. We're all on the same side. Right. And I think we forget that. And I think we actually get conditioned to forget that. No, we got to keep them all separate. And they don't know the game either.
Oh, man.
There's a higher game being played that humans just don't know. And when we get into that survivalism and we gotta do this, we're all on the same side.
If you ever have me on again and you want to go down the power struggles that we all have been subscribed to, that's man, that's a huge
fun one. Yeah, that would be a fun one. And I see Nate smiling too, so we just might have to do that.
I like that topic. I like that topic a lot.
Yeah, there's some unlearning that we all need to be doing. And I have to
Amen.
share this if this does happen again, I'll share a story with you where I was once hired to narrate a book about this thick. And the book was titled Defy Your Doctor and Be Healed, right? But I was just getting into that industry, so I took too long. They fired me, essentially. But they liked me so much that they sent me the book and the manuscript and said, have at it. And I've been in that book, reread it all the time because I just like the stuff that has transpired since the 1800s. Yeah, we definitely need to talk more.
Yeah. See, you're gonna get more of these, Nate, and Xavier's coming back too.
Sounds good. I'm in.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you guys having me, sir. And
Hey, thank you.
whatever I can do to help and impact, inspire, and improve, you can count me in.
I appreciate you both, and you are my bald brothers, as you know. So
I was literally going to make a joke about it. I was coming and
Yes. Hey, you here?
I haven't shaved in a couple days.
Oh, nice. You here in Arizona too, Nate?
No, I'm out right now. I'm in New Jersey, but I'm all over. I'm in West Virginia, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. I'm driving around at rat sales work. Yeah.
Oh,
So I'm all over the place, man. But hey, thank you guys so much. You both enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I really do appreciate it.
thank you. Do the same. Sending you love.
Okay.
Take care.
thanks, Cliff.